Is Sony actually going to dominate Microsoft this fall? That is the big question. What is going on, guys and girls? It's GhostRobo, and we're here with another Xbox One versus PlayStation 4 update. This time, the cool new info coming from Strategy Analytics' latest consumer metrics survey. They are a big whatever you want to call it, analysis firm, company, group, and they polled about 6,000 people across the United States and Europe in June, asking the question, are you going to be buying a PlayStation 4 in the next 12 months, and are you going to be buying an Xbox One in the next 12 months? And they found that 14.2% of consumers are very or somewhat likely to purchase a PlayStation 4 versus only 9.5% of consumers are very or somewhat likely to buy an Xbox One. And the conclusion that they drew from this was that Sony currently has a 50% lead over Microsoft based on this survey for the coming fall, which is a ginormous lead. As you know, I think the systems are pretty darn close. I am an advocate for both. I personally suggest buying the PlayStation 4 at launch, though I think the Xbox One will come into its own very soon after. But what's interesting here is that all signs are pointing to a Sony win, at least in the opening months. Now, I was hopeful that people would kind of wake up and realize there's a lot of cool things about Xbox One and we don't need to be so doom and gloom, especially after they 180'd and reversed course on a lot of the policies that many people were pissed off about. Now, this survey does not indicate whether those polled were aware of that 180. Perhaps some of the people they asked still think that it requires online only and blah, 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 but even still, who knows how many people are actually going to realize that they 180'd. The problem here, as this report points out, is that the E3 performances were so far apart. You know, Sony's mindshare gain was huge at E3, and Microsoft's was just terrible. It was an atrocious performance in terms of public view, public heart, public anything to do with people liking them. They failed pretty miserably. And so even though they did reverse course on a lot of those problematic policies, I don't know how much that's going to save face for them, at least in the short term. So we're looking at a huge advantage for the PlayStation 4, especially with the price difference. And I think they have a stronger launch lineup, specifically because of Killzone 4. I've mentioned that previously, but Shadowfall looks great, and I think they are going to just really rock it out with that. Now, the interesting part here is if this survey is correct, I personally, if I give you my GhostRobo opinion, I personally think it's going to be a lot closer than this. I think that they are not taking into account the amount of people that have an Xbox 360, their friends are on Xbox 360, and they're just going to jump straight to Xbox One and not even think twice about PlayStation 4. Especially here in the United States, the Xbox population primarily revolving around Call of Duty, which is where I think they still are going to launch their system. I still think Microsoft is going to debut the Xbox One alongside Call of Duty Ghosts. And if they do, that's a huge get for them, because that game and the kind of people that are on Xbox Live playing Call of Duty, playing Madden, probably are going to stick with Xbox. So my personal opinion is that it's going to be closer than this. But let's assume that this lead really is going to be reality. Let's assume that Sony does sort of stomp Microsoft down to the floor when they launch these consoles later this year. What does that mean for Microsoft and Xbox One? Well, I can tell you what that means, and it means that Titanfall better become the game of the year. All signs are pointing that it's going to be a really special title. Everybody raved about it at E3 that got to see it and play it. It won so many awards, and sure, there's a little bit of a hype wagon mentality because it is Respawn, because it's the creators of Modern Warfare, and oh my god, their new game, blah, blah, blah. But it is going to be sort of that line in the sand that says either Xbox One succeeds greatly or PlayStation 4 really just starts pumping the victory juice out, because Infamous Second Son, I think, is going to be fantastic, and that's sort of going to be Sony's big Q1 title. Maybe it falls to Q2, but still early year title for PlayStation 4, Infamous Second Son, and Microsoft needs Titanfall to perform to a just insane degree, right? To justify the $100 price difference, to justify the Xbox One as a console in the minds of consumers, you really need a killer app, and I don't feel like either console has a killer app at the start. Killzone will be good, Dead Rising 3 will be good, hopefully, and Infamous looks stellar. But from a broad public standpoint, none of those games really scream, I have to go buy it. For me, for hardcore gamers, for you, sure. You know, you're going to get it because of Infamous, you're going to get it because of Killzone, you're going to get it because of Dead Rising, whatever game, you know, suits your fancy. But in terms of mainstream mania, Titanfall is what could do it. And if that game turns out to be huge, then I can see Microsoft really recovering from this early deficit. Even if pre-orders favor Sony, even if mindshare favors Sony, you get one really good game You get one game that critics love, one game that fans love, one game that pushes online and shows the power of the cloud. Because remember, something that I'm really realizing is that there is a little bit of a difference between Microsoft and Sony's cloud plans. If we dive into a little bit more detail beyond this survey, Microsoft already has the cloud infrastructure established. So when they say, hey, we're going to be offloading a lot of processing power for Titanfall onto the cloud, that is a real legit thing that is happening very soon. And I think it's going to make a big difference when all of a sudden you can take AI routines, you can take a lot of difficult tasks on the hardware and put them into the ether. You know, that's really good for how you can make these games look, and probably will mend the gap between the two chipsets and the two hardware, since Sony does currently have a little bit of a lead on Microsoft there. Sony does have the idea of the cloud. They want to do the same thing, but be aware it is not established yet. The stuff they talk about, Gaikai streaming PS3 games, that does not exist yet. And also at launch, they are not going to have the same cloud support that Microsoft plans on installing. Whether this cloud thing really pans out to be a game changer is yet to be seen. From what I've heard from the game, Titanfall, from what Respawn says about it, from people, it seems to be a big deal. And whether that is a big deal in the sense that it just brings the Xbox One up to the level of the PlayStation 4, or whether it really is able to elevate it a step above, that could matter as well. And I think that the fact that Microsoft has this ready, because they were preparing for the online-only thing. They were preparing for sort of the constantly connected, the downloads, the activations. So their cloud had to be ready, and it sounds like it is. Sony, on the other hand, is gearing towards that, but who knows if that's 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road. A lot of these advantages for both systems, I feel, are very secondary and tertiary, in the sense that most regular, quote-unquote, regular, average, everyday Joes aren't going to know about it. They walk in the store, they see, hey, it's a $500 Xbox One, a $400 PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 seems good. Oh, I love Titanfall. Xbox One seems good. Oh, no, I want to, do the whole Infamous thing. It's going to really boil down to games, personal, console allegiance, whether you're a past Xbox Live big user or you're a Sony fanboy. And then I do think Kinect is going to have an impact, especially around the holiday time. There's a lot of parents and a lot of kids who think that stuff is very cool, whether we think it's dumb or not. Games like Kinect Sports, games like Dance Central, games like the upcoming Disney's Fantasia and stuff like that, that pushes boxes. It really does. And if Kinect does have the same sort of allure, at least slightly, that it did the first time around, it could be a sizable advantage for Microsoft. I don't think it's going to really determine the flow of the comparison, but based on everything I've heard, as much as I personally believe the systems are kind of on par, and I still feel like Microsoft will do fine this holiday season, I'm still really counting on the Xbox Live population to sort of elevate their sales numbers to at least a similar level of Sony. I don't think they'll necessarily win. I don't think they'll necessarily come out ahead this fall, but I think it's going to be closer than this survey predicts. But 50% is what the smart dudes with all their formulas and variables and surveys and whatnot are supposedly saying. And if that's the case, Titanfall, dear God, please be a beast. I mean, it would be awesome to see both platforms really succeed so that we get the best games possible, exclusives and multi-platform titles for both. I want both systems to be equally amazing and equally successful so that they can really share the love in terms of great exclusives, and we can get really awesome games across all platforms. Another interesting piece is the Europe effect. Sony is very powerful in Europe, and so it's pretty much a guarantee they're going to win that. So the battleground, in my opinion, kind of becomes the United States, and in that sense, if Sony can claim a bigger portion of the market share there, whoa, they're going to be in good shape, and Microsoft is going to have to do something. I've heard rumors also of a Kinect-less Xbox One coming summer 2014. That would be $100 cheaper or somewhere around there cheaper, and that could also be interesting. But again, that's 9 months down the road. That's not something that's going to have any impact at launch, nor really set the tone. You can do all you want with price cuts and additions and freebies and that, but as we've seen from the current generation, initial tone set, initial mind share is very important. If you come out the gates and get it right, you're in a great spot. You're in the driver's seat. If you come out the gates and sort of flub away your market share, you sort of mess up your online, or you do something dumb like don't include a headset, I can't understand this. Can't understand why Microsoft is not including a cheap. Give me a 50-cent headset. I don't care if it's this stupid plastic thing that we had the first time around, where it's just got the little foam microphone and blah blah blah. It's not very sturdy. Okay, it breaks in 5 seconds, but hey, I can plug it in and play multiplayer day one. That's really good. The fact that it's not there, It's another knock against them. They've made some dumb choices. I definitely think that. They've made some dumb choices. It's going to be interesting, though, to see how it all pans out. I'm getting both systems. I get this question almost every day, so let's talk about it once more. I'm getting the PlayStation 4 on launch day. I'm getting the Xbox One on launch day. I'll be bringing you coverage of both as best I can. But it's looking like Sony is in a pretty good spot, and it'll be really fun to see if Microsoft can play catch-up right away. Do they wait for Titanfall? Does Titanfall even deliver? How's it all going to shake down? What do you guys think? Does this survey seem accurate to you? Do you really feel like Sony's going to have a huge lead this fall? And if so, will Titanfall be the determining factor for Microsoft and Xbox One? Love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Let me know. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and want to see more discussions on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 coverage as we lead up to launch. Till that time, though, guys and girls, thanks again for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. Drink some hot chocolate, and we will see you all later.